Everybody, this is Craig Tanner for The Mindful Eye and the photo of the week on the Daily Critique. This week's photo of the week was created by Cam, who's an advanced photographer from California. Cam shot this image on Jekyll Island, which is a barrier island off the coast of Georgia. Says that he was scouting for shots and he noticed this shell of a building. He loved how the windows on both sides of the building, looking all the way through the building, framed the trees behind the building. He shot this with a Canon 5D Mark II and a 70-200 f4 zoom at 116 millimeters, and he says the exposure here was f13 ISO 200 and 1/100th of a second. And Cam's given us some other really interesting information that I'll start off talking about here. He's blended two shots. He's blended a shot where he focused on the textures on the front side of the building and also exposed for this, and then another shot where he focused on the tree in the far background and exposed for the tree. He's blended those two shots to express dynamic range through the whole image in the way that he wanted to, and also to imply a depth of field here. So critical sharpness around the area of focus here, really sort of implying sharpness all the way through the image. He's implying a depth of field that would have been otherwise impossible to achieve by just stopping down. And so, one of the things that I want to mention right away is that if we start to include expanding our darkroom skills as a part of our creative process as a photographer, so when we go out, we're not just limited to single capture techniques. We can start to think about, in some cases, building images out of different parts. Obviously, it opens up other creative scenarios to us and for us. So just want to thank Cam for inspiring us with this idea from a technical standpoint, working with two different images to expand the way he's expressing exposure and the feeling of sharpness throughout the depth of this image. So many other things that I love about this composition. I love color, and I love what's happening here just in terms of playing warm and cool colors off of each other, and it's kind of a fun play on the color idea if we think about the tradition of using color to pull through to a very deep part of the image. A lot of times we'll talk about putting the warm idea in the background and the cool in the foreground. Cam is he's sort of going against that type here, but it's really paying off to me because even though the reflected light is very warm here and cool in the background, the quality of light is very soft in the foreground, and obviously he's working with a very dramatic high contrast quality of light in the background, sort of a backside light that's hitting the moss that's hanging down in front of these deep shadows. It's just really fun, the back and forth here. More energy up close with color, less in the background with color, but a lot more energy in the far background of the shot with light. The idea of framing, very, very powerful sort of archetypal composition idea that can just work really well. Obviously in traditional photography we start off with a rectangle or square frame, so that type of geometry is almost always framing our photographs. So to have sort of a frame within a frame, the picture window idea, real powerful archetype, a great concept to think about. One of many, many, many different sort of visual design concepts that you could think of that can play really well in photography. So I'm enjoying that archetype here. And the other thing that I really enjoy about this image is just the way the implied space shapes are sort of playing off of each other. When I look at the background of the image, which to me is obviously the payoff in this shot, even though there's quite a bit of a feeling of edge texture and some really small detail ideas going on, there's an overall sort of implication of simple graphic shapes that are playing out back there. And you get the same sense of that close. So there's, to me, a really beautiful feeling of repetition just in terms of the overall kind of graphic design of these two areas of the image. And really beautiful to me how when we consider the shapes and sort of high energy areas of shapes, really beautiful how that flows and kind of plays with quality of line that's happening in the background. Even though these things are different and this is a frame, there's really sort of a beauty in the way the shapes and implied movement is forming a repetition or even a synergy in this case with the background information. You got the tree trunk here and the feeling of the tree trunk here, the feeling of these palmettos at the bottom coming up and making this shape, repeating in here, and a torn edge feeling that happens in both places. Just really stunning how this is all kind of playing out and rhyming as the shapes kind of play off of each other. I want to say a huge thank you to Cam for sharing this really beautiful image with us. You know, part of Cam's backstory was he scouted this and then he went back. He went back in a different quality of light. He got the idea and then he was dedicated enough to go back when the light was right and the time was right. This is true to me of so many shots that work well, that are contemplative. They're involved. They're really involved, a commitment and a vision and quite a bit of work. I want to mention one other thing, which is Jekyll Island is one of my all-time favorite shooting locations. I've been shooting there for 20 years in my home state of Georgia, and to me, out of all the Georgia barrier islands, it's one of the most beautiful and the most accessible. I've been teaching workshops there for 15 years, and we have a workshop on Jekyll Island in the spring of 2011. If you'd like to know more about our Jekyll Island workshop, where we shoot beautiful markscapes, beachscapes, and lots of opportunity to shoot architecture like Cam has shot here, you can go to the Mindful Eye homepage, click on workshops, and get more information about our 2011 spring Jekyll Island workshop. Thank you to Cam for sharing this beautiful image with us. Thank you to you for being here. Hope you have a great weekend.